This video will provide you with information on how to release, score, and review student data produced from any of the K-2 elementary math Eureka assessments that are teacher score entry tests. When entering assessment scores, it is helpful to have a few tabs open. The first tab has the Eureka Math Teach Guide open, so I can see what the actual test looks like. On another tab, Performance Matters is open. And on my final tab, I have my MCPS dashboard open so that I can access any additional support documents that I may need related to Performance Matters. We will take a look at all of these tabs during the training. Before going into Performance Matters, I want to refresh my memory of the task on the Eureka tab. In the top right corner, I see the name of the assessment. In this case, it's the mid-module assessment task. I see topics A through F are being assessed on the assessment. When I scroll down, I'm going to see that within the assessment, there is a rubric that I'm expected to score on. And I see a step 1, 2, 3, 4. That information is bolded for me. This rubric is also in Performance Matters, so you will be able to see it on the platform. In addition, those items on the assessment will be aligned to the standards, so I can see that information on the platform when I begin to analyze the data that's been entered. For this training, I will be using a demo assessment that is very similar to the Grade 1 Mid-Module 1 assessment that is used for evidence of learning. At this point in the assessment process, the assessment has been administered to the students, and I know what my students' scores are for each of the items. The first step for entering data is to locate the assessment and then release it in Performance Matters. From my landing page, which is called my dashboard, I'm going to go to Tests, and then I'm going to select Assessment Manager. Once the page loads, it will show tests that are available to me during the assessment window. I can see the box next to Limit Open Assessment Window is checked, and that means all the assessments listed below have an open administration window. I can locate the test by scrolling through the names, but the best way to locate a test is to type in the assessment number. I made a sample assessment that looks like the Elementary Math Grade 1 Mid-Module 1 assessment and included the word sample at the beginning of the title so that I would know that this is the fake test. You can locate the grades K and 2 assessments using these same steps. Now that I have located the assessment that I need, I'm going to go over to the right side to the Actions menu. I want to go to OLA Student Status because that is where we can manage and monitor an online assessment. You will use OLA Student Status to release or assign math assessments. Now that we are in OLA Student Status, you can see the students who are available for you to test. I'm going to scroll back up and check on the Live Update box. This will ensure that as changes are made, I will see those changes in status in real time. Notice I have 12 students that I have access to assess. Those are the students who are assigned to my class. I'm going to start entering scores for students that have completed their tests and I have scored them. So I only need to choose those few students that I have scores for. I'm going to pick these first 3 students. Notice when I put the first 3 students, they turn blue. And right above the checks, it says Choose an Action. When I click on Choose an Action, I'm going to choose the first action, which is the only one it will let me choose at this point. In doing so, I'm going to release the test to those 3 students. And notice in my bucket, unassigned has turned to 9 and assigned has turned to 3. That's where I still have my sum of 12 students, but they are now in a different status. One of the most common issues that we hear about from our primary teachers is that they are ready to enter scores and they don't see their students in online scoring. Remember, you have to assign the test to them first before you can enter the student scores. For grade K and 1 and for some of grade 2, the students are not actually interacting with the Performance Matters platform at all. You, as the teacher, are interacting with the platform for the students. So now that the assessment is assigned, I see that a gold star has appeared next to them. Now it's time for me to enter the scores for their tests. Now that you have released the assessment to your students, you are ready to start entering their scores. First, we need to go back to the Assessment Manager tab. I still have my test there. I'm going to select the menu under Actions and then select Online Scoring from the menu, which is where I will provide a score for the student's assessment. When I click Online Scoring, I see it opens in a new tab. I check to make sure that this is the test I want to score, and I see in my test title it is still my sample assessment. I look at the screen and I see that there are 4 items to score, which is how many there were in the teacher guide, but I don't see any students to score. Normally, on the right-hand side, I would see the student's assessment that they submitted. However, with this assessment, students did not do any work on the platform. The platform defaults to show only students who are finished, and in OLA student status, our students are only assigned the assessment. They will not appear in that finished bucket on their own. So I have to simply go to the statement, show only finished students, and uncheck this box. This way, the platform will show me all the students that have been assigned the test or are in progress. Notice, still, it's just those 3 students that I assigned the test. I can see I have OLA 3 student, and now I have a response would drop down. To the right, I see that is the rubric that I had on my test handout with step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. Notice a score of 0 has been added. There is also a blank area, which is an extended text field. We'll talk about how that can be utilized in a moment. Now, I will look at the student's test and enter a score in the platform. For the first one, I see 0, then steps 1 through steps 4 from the rubric for question 1, which is from the Eureka assessment. This student earned a score of 4 on question 1. Next is question 2. The student earned a 4 for that question as well. For question 3, the student also earned a 4. And now for question 4, the student earned a 1. Let's take a look at the right side of the screen. As I mentioned, we would come back to this text box. The math team has made this test available where, instead of the student typing the extended text box field, the teacher can do this. This is where the teacher can record an anecdotal note relevant to the assessment items or the overall assessment. Notes in this area can be accessed by the teacher or other people in the building who have access to the student through the reporting features on the platform. Okay, so I wrote an anecdotal note in the box that OLA 3 did not have any initial response to the item and was unable to represent the problem with pictures. I'm only making one comment on the assessment, but I could make comments for each question or one comment for the overall assessment. Next, I'm going to go to OLA 4. And again, here I'll go back and look at their assessment, and then once it loads, I can score it. For question 1, the student earned a 3. Oops, if I make a mistake and I say, whoops, I didn't mean 3, it should be 4, I can go ahead and change it. I don't have any anecdotal notes to write for this student, so I'm going to go ahead and score them. Finally, I'm going to select my third student, OLA 5. This student earned a score of 1 for the first question and a score of 2 for the second question. However, I notice I didn't finish assessing the last 2 questions with this student. So in this case, I'm just going to leave them blank and they will remain as unscored. Now that I've entered the scores, I'm going to take a peek at my OLA Student Status tab so I can see how the screen might have changed. Now, when I look at my buckets, I can see that my assigned students are now in finished. This is important to confirm because we unchecked the box for showing only the finished students. But now when I look at my items answered, they all say something out of 4. However, none of them say 4 out of 4. And I know I just scored these. The reason is because we're using that extended text response field as a way to write in and record teacher notes. We are not using it for the students to type in. So as long as there isn't anything typed in that field, this will show as a 0 out of 4. OLA student 3 is the one that I recorded a note for. That's why it's saying 1 out of 4. So for your purposes, items answered is not an alert for you in this particular case. Okay, so I've released the assessment. I've scored it for 3 students. Again, I would go through this same process to go back and enter scores for the rest of my students in unassigned status, or to go back and revisit my OLA 5 student who only responded to 2 items so far. Each time that you go into the platform to enter scores, it will take about 15 minutes of build time before the data is available for analysis. It's been at least 15 minutes since I entered the data into Performance Matters. So now I am ready to go to the Student Item Analysis Report to check the scores. To get to the Student Item Analysis Report, I'm going to go back to my Assessment Manager tab. Then I look at the student scored column and see a number in blue. When I hover over that number, I can see a hyperlink to Student Item Analysis, or SIA. By clicking on the number from Assessment Manager, the assessment will automatically populate in the report when it opens. In addition to accessing the SIA report through Assessment Manager, I can also go to the Reports menu on the left and select Student Item Analysis. Accessing it from the Reports menu will not automatically populate the test. Therefore, I'll have to search for the assessment I want in the search field and identify the test I want to see data for. Student Item Analysis is where I can use the platform to see what kind of overall trends or information I might see about my group of students to help inform my instruction based on one assessment. So let's take a look at this report. I see my test title begins with sample and has grade 1 mid-module 1, so I know I'm viewing the correct test. Moving on, I look at the top and I see different colors, red, orange, yellow, green, for color banding, and this tells me that the assessment has gone through standard setting. If it had not, this band would be 3 different shades of green along with a red. The bottom part of the report is where I can confirm what scores I've entered and that they have been captured on the platform. I see the 3 students that I've entered scores for, even though I've entered partial scoring for student OLA 5. Let's look a little more carefully at the scores. OLA 3 student was the student that did really well on the first 3 items, getting a 4, a 4, a 4, and then a 1. And I typed in an anecdotal note. So let's look and see what their score looks like. First, I see I have a percentage score. Next, I see points earned out of points possible. It's out of 16 points, and that makes sense. It was a 4-point rubric and there were 4 items, therefore the total points would be 16. I also see the 3 fours the student had earned, and I also see the 1. And notice that I have a yellow color here because they did earn a 1, and that it has a square. When I hover over that square, I can see the comment that I typed in. Next, I'm going to check OLA 4. This student scored a 4, then a 3, then a 4, then a 2. I can see that right across the row. I see that out of 16 points, this student earned 13. Again, we have no boxes showing like we did for OLA 3 because this student did not have any comments typed in. Finally, let's look at our third student, OLA 5. This student is showing 3 out of 8, not the 16. So that's an alert to me right now that 8 points are still out there for that student. When I look at their scores for questions 1 and 2, I can see they earned a score of 1 for the first question and 2 for the second question. But here for questions 3 and 4, I'm seeing zeros. Those zeros are basically placeholders because I didn't put a score in. Now, I would have a better understanding of this if in one of those fields or both, I would have typed in my notes, student did not complete this yet. And then I would see that comment when I hover over the 0 like I did for OLA 3. I can also go on the Item Scores tab. For questions 3 and 4, notice the 0 is now an NA. The NA present meaning it's not applicable because a score wasn't entered. Again, on the online scoring in the drop-down, this showed as unscored. In this report, it's a little different. It says NA. The next one I can click on is rubric scores. Notice now that the two questions 3 and 4 are blank. And again, there's nothing there because I didn't score the student. In this section, I've confirmed that I have released, scored, and reviewed the scores of the 3 sample students. I know right now, for this specific assessment, of the 3 students I scored in my classroom, I need to go back and revisit my OLA 5 student and enter the 2 outstanding scores. In addition, I also need to assign the test to my other students, score it, and then confirm the scores through student item analysis. There are multiple steps in the process to enter scores. Once you do it a few times, you're going to get a lot faster at it. If you have questions about different reporting features and how to perform some of these tasks, you can go and access some of the resources that we provide as part of the Performance Matters platform via My MCPS. So now I'm going to go to my MCPS tab, which I had opened. And from my dashboard, I'm going to go down the left column until I get to Resources, which is almost at the bottom. I'm going to click on Resources, and then I'm going to click on PM Support Website, just below the student and staff login links. This will take you to the website for the Assessment and Data Management Unit. This unit manages Performance Matters and maintains the website. This website provides useful resources for staff. One useful set of resources are our quick reference guides. From the home page, click on Performance Matters. From there, you can find quick reference guides and click on that. This page provides a variety of guides that can walk you through some of these processes. Notice on Common Assessment Information, there's a quick guide to help you out with Assessment Manager, OLA student status, and online scoring. And then if we go to the report and data information, you can see a student item analysis quick guide is available, as well as baseball card. Keep in mind that after scoring has been completed, it will take about 15 minutes of build time for the data to populate in the student item analysis report. The assessment data will be available to use in the baseball card report the next day. If you still have questions, this website can also help you find your point of contact on the ADM team. Click on the Home button at the top, and then click on the team and click on Find Your ADM Point of Contact. From here, you can enter your school name, click on Search, and then in just a minute, your ADM point of contact will appear. We hope you found this video tutorial helpful as you release, score, and review student K-2 Eureka Math assessments. We appreciate you taking the time to watch and learn with us today.